So for this year's competition, University Challenge community has selected the Meritex owned Freight House in the Lafayette Park area in St. Paul. First, I'll start off with some introductions for people that are for Meritex people that are on the call. I'm Andrew May, and I'm an investment analyst at the Meritex company. My role is essentially to evaluate potential investment and development opportunities. And then lastly, I just wanted to share that I am a 2016 graduate of the University of Northern Iowa.
Nice. I'm Rhett Carlson, investment analyst. Pretty much do the same thing as Andrew, along with another analyst at the company. And I graduated from the University of Minnesota.
All right. So I briefly wanted to cover the history of the Meritex company because it's intertwined with the site, actually. The company was founded in St. Paul by Harry McNeely Sr. in 1916. It was originally a warehouse and distribution operation called the St. Paul Terminal Warehouse Company that was ran out of a building that is still standing on the site today. Adjacent to that building, the Soo Line Railroad had a freight terminal, which is also a part of the site for this year's competition. And the St. Paul Terminal Warehouse Company serviced that terminal by unloading the trains and distributing whatever came off of them across the city. It wasn't until the 1940s that the company expanded into ownership and development, and it really didn't become a main focus of the company until the 70s. Then finally in 2003, the Meritex company exited the warehousing business entirely and focused exclusively on the ownership and development of industrial properties. So today, what that looks like is that we are still owned by the McNeely family and are a private real estate investment and management firm focused on acquiring, developing, and managing infill industrial portfolios or industrial properties. We're headquartered in Minneapolis and have 53 employees spread across six different metros. Our portfolio consists of 12.8 million square feet of industrial assets across 118 buildings and 9 markets throughout the Midwest, Southeast, and Southwest. In terms of AUM, we currently manage $1.5 billion worth of assets and have a goal of investing an additional $750 million in the next 5 years. So with that, we can kind of move on to the site here.
Yeah, so I just kind of wanted to back up and give you guys a history of the site because it's pretty cool. The area around the site this year was and kind of is still known as Lafayette Park. And this was, as you can see, it was a premium district in St. Paul going back 150 years. Henry Sibley, the first governor of Minnesota, had a house there. Plenty of large mansions were in the area. But that was before the railroads took over, really in the late 1800s. And it quickly became an industrial, preeminently industrial area in the late 1800s as kind of the wealthy residents move up to Cathedral Hill and other areas. So everything you see here today is no longer there, including Woodward Avenue. That's not existent anymore at the site, but it just kind of provides some background for what used to be there. This is going back to, this is a historic aerial, 1947. As you can see, even by 1947, it's pretty much completely taken over by industrial uses. You can see the site there with the Soo Line Railroad Terminal. I also like to look at the property lines there. You can see where there is property and then where the future freeway cuts through. So if you want to go to the next one, Andrew. This is 1974. As you can see, we've got I-94 cutting through and then Highway 52. And a little bit more demolition, see parking lots, and then you can see the construction of the Freight House building, 355, which was built in 67. That takes us to present day 2022, a little bit clearer image. You can see even more parking lots along with the site there, 355, the toy box, 444 Pine, and the northwest corner of the site, the parking lot. And this is all northeast of downtown St. Paul.
Yeah. So essentially, the site consists of 4 separate parcels that encompass a total of 11.36 acres. Right now, the site is zoned as L1 for light industrial. However, the city of St. Paul is guiding the zoning to mixed use in their 2040 comprehensive plan, opening up opportunities for other uses, likely due to its location adjacent to downtown St. Paul. As Brett mentioned, just southwest of here, across the interstate, is downtown St. Paul. There are 3 structures on the site, with the first one being 355 East 8th Street, which we will refer to as the Freight House. There's 444 Pine Street, which we will refer to as Pine Street. And then there's 500 Pine Street, which is referred to as the Toy Box internally here at Meritex. Each of those 3 structures sit on their own parcel, and the final parcel is 558 Pine Street, which we'll refer to as the red lot. And so here on this picture, I have these labeled Freight House, Toy Box, Pine Street, and red lot here. I won't list off all the building and parcel attributes since this has all been included in the site packet, but I will kind of quickly spin through some of the highlights. First is the Freight House. This sits on 8.47 acres and was built in 1967. And actually prior to that, it was where the Sioux Line Railroad had their rail terminal. So that actually went right through the site, and we have a pretty good historical picture of that right here. You can see the Pine Street building is here, and then this is where the Freight House is today. It was built really right over where these train tracks were, where the Sioux Line Railroad could, bring their trains and unload them and offload them through a contract with the St. Paul Terminal Warehouse Company. And then, of course, as Brett mentioned before that, it was a residential neighborhood for kind of the more wealthy individuals in the area. But in addition to that, today it is currently used as a warehouse and distribution building. It's a total of 240,000 gross square feet. The net rentable is a little bit less than that, just because there's a boiler room and then some other common areas within the building. And then one thing I kind of want to highlight is the construction of the building. It is precast concrete exterior walls. And then it also has a concrete roof deck, which is not very common, or at least I should say, you won't find it in any modern industrial building today. It's just that kind of construction has been phased out, especially within the Minneapolis area. You might see something like that pretty common down in Miami, just because of the hurricanes, but obviously we don't have those problems here. Next is the 444 Pine Street building, or Pine Street. That one, that is what the St. Paul Terminal Warehouse Company originally operated out of. And so that sits on 1.1 acres and was built back in 1917. Its current use today is multi-tenant office, and it spans roughly 22,000 square feet across 2 stories. Then we have the Toy Box. This was the building that they would, back in the day, they would unload, the trains would actually be able to come inside this building. They would be unloaded and then loaded onto a dock where they could put them on trucks, or even before that, they would put them on carts that were drawn by horses, so that the goods could be distributed to this throughout the city. So today, this building is really just used as dead storage. It's just a brick and block building. There's really no finish on the inside. It's just a concrete floor. It's got 14 dock high doors and then one drive-in door. Um, and Pretty small building, spans 18,300 square feet, and is just it's on a parcel that's 0.77 acres. Finally, the last parcel is the red lot, which is just over 1 acre. And it's being used as just a parking lot with 104 stalls. The assumptions that we want you to make are first, an acquisition price of 21.15 million. We want you to use a specific acquisition date of January 1st, 2025. And part of that is because we're making some leasing assumptions here, that we will kind of get into in a couple bullet points down. But we wanted everyone to kind of make the same assumptions, so we're pointing this out right away. As far as title and survey, we want you to assume that there are no restrictive easements on the site. And then on the environmental front, we want you to assume that the site is clean of contamination and shovel ready for development. When it comes to the buildings, assume that 444 North Pine Street cannot be torn down. That is the building that's being used as a multi-story office building today. And then on the other two remaining buildings, you can choose to remodel, demolish, or continue to operate those buildings. The Pine Street building, while we're telling you you can't tear it down, it's not listed on the National Register of Historic Places, so you won't be able to be using any historic rehabilitation tax credits on that.
Great. Yeah, and just with the Pine Street building, it's kind of near and dear to the McNeely family's heart as the birthplace of St. Paul Terminal Warehouse Company, later Meritex. So yeah, just assume that can't be torn down. But getting on to leasing assumptions at the Freight House, which is the large single-story industrial building, assume that is 238,686 feet of net rentable square feet. That's 100% occupied and leased to Freight House Logistics at a rate of $650 per square foot net until December 31st, 2025. And with that, you can assume that there is a termination option that the landlord could elect to give the tenant, and they would have 6 months to vacate. It would become 6 months. It become effective 6 months after the notice is given to the tenant, and that would be a $200,000 termination fee. As for the other two buildings, you can assume that there are no leases in place, blank slate for those two buildings. And again, all this stuff is in the packet, but definitely reach out if you have questions. Getting into some photos here, this is the Freight House building. This is looking southwest. You can see this is the northeast side of the building we're looking at. You have the dock doors and the truck court, and looking southwest, we have downtown St. Paul and the Cathedral of St. Paul on the far right-hand side. So just kind of showing the real proximity to downtown St. Paul, which is somewhat unusual for an industrial building this size. And we think makes it a great location for redevelopment or operating as is, but just wanted to kind of point out how close it is to downtown St. Paul. And we have more photos of that on the Google Drive. This is a floor plan of the building. Again, single-story industrial building, basic concrete box. Where you see is leased and available, that's not representative of the leasing assumptions we gave you. So just kind of use this as kind of just reference. And you can see the dock doors, the boiler room, and basically a basic concrete box at the freight house.
And then here's an exterior photo of the Pine Street building looking towards the north. You can't tell from this angle, but the building actually has a pretty good view of downtown St. Paul. If you are looking to the southeast through one of these windows here on the east side of the building. And as Rhett mentioned, we have additional exterior and interior photos of all the buildings that we have put on the Google Drive. And then here is the floor plan for the Pine Street building, which is also on the Google Drive provided. And we can certainly send this PowerPoint out to everyone after the meeting so that you have all this information in one place. But just a couple things of note on this floor plan. You've got an elevator over here on the left side of the plan. There's an atrium here that goes from the first floor to the second floor. And then the second floor is really just, it's quite open. So, those are kind of the things that I just was going to kind of point out right off the bat.
And then this is the building to the north. This is the Toy Box, single story, 18,000 square foot building. You've got the dock doors directly on Pine Street, basically on the lot line. The drive-in doors on the north side there, you can see. We don't have a floor plan for this, but it is, like Andrew mentioned, just dead storage, concrete floors, brick and block construction. And the roof was replaced on this recently, I believe 2019 or 2020. So that's in good shape. And we have photos on the inside of this in the Google Drive.
And again, this is just the historical photo that I showed earlier. And then here's an additional one. We just think these are kind of cool. You can see the toy box actually used to extend all the way to the Pine Street building. And so then the trains were able to come into this building here, get offloaded. And then right here are these docks where then the goods could be offloaded onto horse-drawn carts or later actual trucks. So thought that was pretty cool. Wanted to show that.
And there's some good history. The Ramsey County Historical Society has some good history. You can search online with some cool pictures.
With that, we can kind of wrap it up for questions. And I've also listed our contact information here in case there's any questions that anyone thinks of later on after we're done here.
But feel free to ask us any questions now while we have you.
Will we be able to tour the site in person?
Yes, forgot to mention that. If you want a tour, shoot us an email and we can arrange that for sure.
Awesome.
Thank you for walking us through the property. Our team, we're the Marquette team. We had a question about so the comprehensive new zoning. So it sounds like there's going to be a slight shift with kind of the zoning procedures. Is it best practice to follow what the city's planning for the future, even if that doesn't take an effect till, I believe you said 2040? Like, would the city reasonably pass something that is not in current zoning as long as it adheres to the new zoning plan?
Yeah, we've looked into this, and the 2040 plan is just the name of it. They're actively looking to switch over zoning in this area to something other than light industrial. So I think they're flexible and willing to work with you as a developer.
Yeah, and they've done that with other buildings in the area as well. There are several buildings in the area that were traditionally 4-story warehouses that have been converted into office. There are also buildings that have been converted from warehouse to multifamily. And these are all adjacent to this site here. And there's even new development going on within this exact vicinity. So it's really not so much of a stretch to think that there will be a rezoning here if presented to the city. I mean,
Yeah, there's a project kind of north west ground up affordable project going on right now. So that had to get rezoned.
Oh, so is a toy box connected to electricity, water, or sewer system?
let's see.
Good question.
Yeah, I believe it is. I think we
Okay.
can assume that there are at least utilities available at the lot line.
Okay.
I know it is unheated right now. But yeah, like Andrew said, could be available.
Any other questions for these guys?
Yeah, let us know if anything comes up.
All right.
All right.
Well, thanks everyone. We're recording this, so we will get the video link out to you guys probably tomorrow, as well as the PowerPoint slides. But again, any questions that come up, as you guys are working on it, just reach out and let us know.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Very much.
Thanks.